There is a secret that monks have carried for centuries. It is not written in books. It is felt in the wind before the storm, seen in the eyes of the old who smile without speaking. This secret is simple. Do one thing in divine timing and the world will never see you the same again. And today, I will tell you when that moment comes, and what must be done when it arrives. Stay until the end, and you will not just hear it. You will feel it. There are moments in time when the veil between the seen and the unseen grows thin, when days no longer follow routine but carry a sacred pulse, a rhythm that echoes from beyond the stars and deep within the marrow of your soul. These are not ordinary days. These are the sacred timings of fate, whispered into silence and hidden between calendar numbers, visible only to those who are still enough to listen. It is said among the mountain monks that time is not measured by clocks, but by energy. They do not ask, "What day is it?" but rather, "What does this day carry?" In their scrolls, they write not just months and dates, signs. When the moon breathes heavily, when the wind changes tone, when the air thickens with unspoken truths. Between the 9th and 12th of each month, the ancient pulse grows louder. These days are not random, they are windows, portals carved by fate for transformation. If one is attuned, they will notice a peculiar shift. Ideas arrive as if from nowhere. A stranger may speak a sentence that stirs your entire being. A dream lingers past waking hours, refusing to fade. These are signs, divine hints that something is unfolding, and you are being called into alignment with it. The danger, however, lies in dismissal. For those too distracted, too hurried, too burdened by noise, these sacred timings pass unnoticed. The window closes, the message is missed, and the path, though not gone, becomes harder to find. There is an old parable once spoken near the stone steps of a Shaolin temple. A student asked his master, "When will my life change?" The master pointed toward a high cliff and said, "At dawn, a bridge made of mist appears there. It lasts for only minutes before it vanishes with the sun. If you walk upon it, your journey becomes shorter by years. But if you wait or question too long, you will climb the long way through thorns and storms." The student asked, "And how will I know when the mist bridge appears?" The master replied, "You must rise before the sun, not to chase the bridge, but to be ready in case it comes." So it is with divine timing. We do not control when the window opens, but we prepare our spirit, so when it does, we are already walking. In daily life, you may recall moments when someone acted decisively, almost instinctively, and their entire reality shifted. A woman finally left the relationship that kept her spirit in chains, and days later, opportunities poured in. A man declined a job offer that looked perfect on paper, only to find his true purpose in something he nearly missed. What allowed them to act was not logic. It was alignment with the moment that had arrived just for them. These days do not come dressed in clarity. They often arrive wrapped in uncertainty. The 10th may feel heavy in the chest. The 11th may stir old emotions. These are signals, not symptoms. Just as the body aches before a storm, the soul tightens before expansion. In the Tao Te Ching, it is written, "Those who flow as life flows know they need no other force." This is the wisdom of sacred timing, not to push, but to attune, not to chase fate, but to walk beside it when it comes near. So listen when the wind changes. Observe when people behave out of character. Watch the dreams that repeat. Between the 9th and 12th, clarity descends like dew upon the morning grass. Quiet your steps and notice what was invisible before. The world may not have changed, but your eyes will have. And now we arrive at the second path on this journey. The voice that guides you when logic fails and the world is loud, the inner compass, quiet truth, the sacred guide we call intuition. Intuition is not a mysterious gift given to a chosen few. It is the language of the soul before language existed. It is the original knowing, the kind that animals use to detect danger, children follow without question, and that sages spend lifetimes learning to hear again. Yet, in the modern world, intuition is often drowned by analysis, doubt, and noise. People ask, "What should I do?" while their inner voice whispers gently beneath the surface, unheard. But if one learns to hear that whisper and obey it, even when it makes no sense, they begin to live differently. They begin to walk as those who carry secrets, as if some invisible force walks beside them. There is a tale from Zen hermit who lived in solitude near a forest stream. One day, a traveler lost in the woods found the hermit sitting peacefully, boiling tea. "Which way is the village?" the traveler asked, panicked and tired. The hermit closed his eyes, touched the earth, and then pointed left. "But that makes no sense," said the traveler. "The sun rose behind me, so the village must be the other way." The hermit smiled and said, "You asked the earth for directions. I asked the wind." Hours later, the traveler returned. "You were right," he whispered in awe. The hermit nodded and poured him tea. The body knows before the map can draw the path. Intuition is like that wind. It moves quietly, often against reason, but it knows the way. In real life, have you ever walked into a room and felt something was off, even though everyone was smiling? Have you delayed a decision without knowing why, only to discover a truth later that confirmed your hesitation? That was not coincidence. That was the soul's radar intuitive knowing. Even in nature, this wisdom abounds. Birds sense earthquakes before the ground shakes. Plants bend before storms arrive. The natural world is governed by unseen intelligence. And you too are nature. That same intelligence flows through your bones. But like any instrument, intuition must be tuned. If your mind is always speaking, your soul cannot. If your life is always moving, your guidance cannot arrive. Silence is the soil where intuition grows. The mystics say, the quieter you become, the more you can hear. But what do we listen for? Not instructions, but resonance. Intuition rarely says, "Go here." It says, "This feels right." It does not argue. It simply knows. And just as certain days of the month carry sacred timing, intuition sharpens during these periods. Between the 9th and 12th, the mind may become cluttered, but the soul becomes clear. If you can separate the two, the path becomes visible. Let your decisions be guided not by urgency, but by clarity. Pause before choosing. Sit in stillness before responding. Observe your body's response when you speak a possible future aloud. Does it contract or expand? That is the answer. No words needed. It is not easy to follow intuition. Often it leads away from comfort into uncertainty, but always leads toward alignment. A monk once wrote in a scroll found hidden beneath centuries of dust, "The one who obeys the voice within becomes immune to the voices without." This is the path of the intuitive one. Not louder, just clearer, not bolder, just aligned. So we return to our beginning. Certain days carry sacred winds. Certain choices echo across lifetimes. And when the soul listens to its own rhythm, when it honors the timing of life and the voice within, something shifts. The world does not need to change for your reality to transform. You need only act when fate invites you, and walk when the wind carries your name. In these two truths, the sacred timing of days and the wisdom of your inner voice, you are no longer lost. You are no longer waiting. You are returning. And once you do this, even once, the world will never see you the same again. Because you will never see yourself the same again. There is a moment, quiet and unseen, when a person crosses a threshold within. It does not come with celebration or trumpet, nor does the world take notice at first. But something profound shifts, an inner resolve is born, and a subtle radiance begins to emanate from the one who has awakened. This is the beginning of the journey for the one who is called but also chooses. This is the essence of the third truth, the as awakening of the chosen one. Not all who are born into this world will awaken to the purpose hidden beneath the layers of daily life. Many will walk paths shaped by habit or expectation. But there are some quiet souls who hear something different. A distant call, like wind rustling through dry leaves or a whisper beneath the surface of a calm lake. They are stirred not by noise, but by longing, not by ambition, but by remembrance. To be chosen is not about superiority. It is about yasa responsiveness as it. The universe calls to everyone, but only the few who listen, who prepare, who align are able to walk the path when it is revealed. There is a parable told by the monks who live along the river temples of the East. A lantern floated down a river at dusk. One traveler saw it and thought it was debris. Another saw it and thought it was a sign. The first walked on. The second followed it and discovered a quiet shrine tucked within the woods, hidden from all but those who noticed the light. Later, when asked how he found such a sacred place, the second traveler replied, "I did not find it. I remembered to follow. Awakening is not discovery. It is remembering. Real awakening does not happen through effort alone. It happens when a person is ready to release who they are not. The chosen ones are not perfect, but they are sincere. They are willing to be undone, to let go of masks that no longer serve. They begin to walk not to be seen, but to see. And the more they see, the more the world reflects back to them a higher path. In life, we often witness this quiet awakening. A woman who leaves a high-paying job, not for more money, but for meaning. A young man who stops chasing the approval of others and instead begins to listen to the truth in his own chest. A mother who forgives her past and in doing so frees her children from generational pain. These moments are not grand on the outside, but inside they are earthquakes. Nature too honors this slow and deep awakening. The lotus grows in muddy waters, invisible for weeks. One morning it blooms, not because it was forced, but because the time was ripe and the roots were ready. In the words of the Indian mystic Kabir Faf, the soul sleeps in the mineral, dreams in the plant, stirs in the animal, awakens in the human. Yet even among humans, not all awaken. Some sleep with their eyes open. The chosen one, when they rise, cannot return to sleep again. When this awakening begins, something curious happens. Life begins to test, rearrange, and align circumstances to shape the one who has answered the call. And that leads us to the fourth truth, the zest cycles of the universe and the mastery of divine rhythm. The awakened one begins to see that life does not unfold in straight lines, but in cycles. There are seasons not just in nature, but in the soul. Times of planting, times of waiting, times of harvest, and times of rest. To live in harmony with these cycles is to walk with the universe, not against it. But for many, frustration arises when we expect summer in winter or fruit before the seed has even sprouted. We push, we demand, we rush. And in doing so, we miss the deeper current. There is a story from a Taoist village passed through generations by elders who spoke little but observed much. A farmer planted 2 trees. The first was watered every day, spoken to, protected from wind. The second was left alone, only rain and time would touch it. After a year, the first tree stood taller. The villagers praised the farmer. When the storms came, the first tree fell, the second remained. Why? Because in the absence of constant help, its roots had grown deep and wide, seeking water, anchoring itself to the earth. The farmer then whispered to the wind, "The seasons taught the second what my hands could not. So too must we allow the cycles to teach us. Some seasons are for doing, others for being, some for speaking, others for listening. In your own life, you may recall moments where nothing seemed to progress, no matter how hard you tried. Then suddenly, without effort, everything aligned. That was not random. It was rhythm. The universe operates with exquisite timing. The moon knows when to rise. The tide knows when to return. Even your breath follows a cycle. In and out, rise and fall. When you understand this, you begin to sense when it is time to act and when it is time to wait. The days between the 20th and 22nd of each month often carry the energy of pivot. Subtle signs begin to form, suggesting change. But you must be still enough to feel the shift. Not all turning points arrive with sound. Some come in a gentle inner knowing. Now is the moment. Just as the sun does not rush the dawn, nor does the rose bloom before it is ready, your soul has its own divine clock. Greatest peace comes from trusting it. In personal growth, this trust becomes a kind of inner mastery. You no longer act from panic, from precision. You no longer chase but attract by alignment. You realize that every winter prepares the soil for spring, and even the delays are part of the unfolding. The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius once reflected, "Observe how all things are continually being born of change. The universe loves nothing so much as to change the things which are and to make new things like them." This is not chaos, it is sacred renewal. When you awaken to your path and understand the rhythms that guide it, life begins to open in unexpected ways. What once felt forced becomes fluid. What once felt blocked becomes blessed. You no longer seek control, you seek connection. And so the journey continues. The chosen one rises not above others, but deeper into themselves. The awakened one no longer resists life seasons, but walks with them step by step, cycle by cycle. From awakening to rhythm, from inner remembrance to cosmic timing, this path is not easy. But it is real. It strips away illusion, yes, but only to reveal the soul's original light. And when you live from this light, when you act only when aligned, and rest only when called to, you no longer move like others. You move like the wind. Present, unseen, yet undeniable. And the world, sensing this quiet power, will never see you the same again. There are times in life when the road grows quiet, so quiet that one can hear the stirrings of the soul beneath all else. And in that silence, something begins to unfold. Not every moment of beauty arrives dressed in ease. Some arrive like shadows, disguised in difficulty, cloaked in discomfort. They do not come to punish, but doth prepare. The fifth truth along this spiritual journey speaks of such moments, the parallel signs, shadows, and sacred storms that life sends when it is ready to test the vessel before it fills it. These are not punishments. They are invitations, subtle initiations, calling you into your next becoming. We often think of signs as blessings, gentle nudges, golden coincidences, or divine alignment. But just as often, signs appear as disruptions. A plan falls apart. A person leaves. Unexpected hardship arises. These are also signs, though many reject them. The wise, the ones who listen with more than their ears, see that the storm does not come to destroy, but to reveal. A monk once told a tale beside a burning incense stick. There was a man who walked a mountain path to reach a sacred spring. Along the way, stumbled and found himself covered in mud. Angry and tired, he cursed the trail. When he finally arrived, he bent to drink from the spring. But just before his lips touched the water, he saw a serpent inside. He backed away, confused. He sat under a tree to rest. As the sun moved and the light changed, he returned to look again. There was no serpent, only a shadow. The water was clear all along, but if he had not fallen, if he had not stopped, he never would have waited long enough to see clearly. It is with our storms. Sometimes the very thing we resist is the thing that saves us. Between the 17th and 19th of each month, these shadows often rise. You may feel irritable, uncertain. Conflicts may surface, often with people closest to you. fatigue may grow heavy on your shoulders. These days are not to be feared. They are the days of reckoning, not with the world, but with yourself. Soul cannot evolve without purification, and purification is not comfort, it is fire. Fire that burns away false identities, fire that melts attachments, fire that reveals what was always hidden beneath. In real life, one might observe how, after heartbreak or deep failure, a person becomes more honest with themselves. The masks fall. The distractions lose appeal. What remains is a clearer sense of what matters. How often do we only begin to change when life gives us no other choice? How often do we find strength in the very place we thought we were weakest? Nature, too, reflects this wisdom. The bamboo, before it grows even a single inch above ground, spends years strengthening its roots below the surface, and once ready, shoots up rapidly, as if overnight. But without those invisible years of preparation, it would fall with the first wind. So when life seems to delay you or challenge you in sudden bursts, it may not be resistance. It may be rooting. There is an old verse from the Mahayana teachings that do not seek the light. Become still and the light will find you. But be warned, it first shows you your shadows, that the tests come not to break you, but to measure your readiness. Walk the path of the awakened is not to avoid difficulty, but to learn to transform within it. Do not fear these signs. Watch them with them. Ask them, what do you wish to show me? And in the asking, you begin to see. And after the storm, after the winds have howled through your branches, after the rain has washed your illusions, comes the moment of great stillness. This leads us to the sixth sacred truth, as Dolores, the inner stillness before transformation, the hush before the becoming, that space where all is quiet and the soul prepares itself to step into a new form. Many think that transformation arrives loudly, with thunder, with bright lights, with dramatic change. But true transformation arrives gently. It comes like the first light of morning, soft, gradual, barely noticeable, until suddenly everything is illuminated. There is a moment that occurs after the storm where the world pauses. The air feels different. The trees hold their breath, the sky waits. This stillness is sacred. It is not emptiness, it is preparation. In the teachings of a desert mystic, there is a story passed through quiet generations. A young seeker walked into the temple and asked the master, "What must I do to awaken?" The master gave him a bowl and said, "Go to the river and wait. Do not return until the bowl is full, not with water, but with silence." The seeker sat by the river. Days passed. He heard the frogs, the wind, the birds, but his bowl remained empty. On the seventh day, he stopped listening for anything and simply sat. In that moment, the bowl grew heavy in his hands. He looked down. It was full, not of water, but of the quiet he had become. So it is with us. We do not find clarity by seeking it. We become quiet enough for clarity to find us. Often, just before a breakthrough, the world goes still. You may feel as if nothing is happening. No guidance, no energy, just stillness. This is not stagnation. It is sacred space. The days between the 14th and 16th are often such times. The energy may feel low, as if something is ending, but nothing has yet begun. These are the days when transformation plants its seeds, but they grow first in the dark. In daily life, one might remember moments where a person sat with uncertainty, not rushing, not forcing, and then suddenly a realization dawned. The decision became clear. The answer came not from effort, but from presence. Even the butterfly must be still in its cocoon, its old form dissolving into nothing before its wings can grow. If it is interrupted, it cannot fly. So too must we honor the stillness that comes before flight. In the Zhuangzi, the ancient text of Taoist wisdom, it is written, "When nothing is done, nothing is left undone." This does not mean to do nothing. It means to allow the natural unfolding without forcing. In the space of inner stillness, we meet ourselves most clearly. Our fears, our hopes, our truth. This stillness is not a pause in the journey. It ever is the journey. And so, from the sacred storms that purify to the stillness that prepares, a new self is born, not all at once. Not in lightning, like the tide returning to shore, inevitable, gentle, and full. If you find yourself today in the middle of a storm, trust that it is sacred. Ask what it has come to cleanse. If you find yourself today in stillness, trust that it is not nothing, it is everything. These moments are not interruptions. They are the ceremony of becoming. And when you honor them, when you pass through the fire without bitterness, when you wait in the silence without fear, you emerge different. Not louder, not greater, but truer, and the world, sensing this new truth, will never see you the same again. The secret kept by monks, sages, and the silent ones who walk ahead of time. You have heard the dates. You have seen the signs. You have felt the truth. You are not late. You are not broken. You are being prepared. When the wind shifts and the portals open, choose to act, not like who you were, but like the soul that destiny always knew you could become. When the pupil is ready, the path appears. And when the soul is awakened, fate bows before it.